views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open Hybrid. We are back this week at Chari Executive Suite. I'm Rena Valentin, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. And here's what's coming up in today's show. Later these all will speak to Fit Hit Krav Maga instructor Victoria Makarova to discuss her women's self-defense seminars. Then we'll be joined by award-winning photographer and informal curator Marisol Diaz-Gordon as she discusses the new photography exhibitions coming to Enfocus South Bronx Tour. After that, we'll speak to event organizer and Bronx Filmmakers Collective member Josephat Concepcion to discuss Bronx Pride Week 2022 LGBTQ plus film screening. Later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight shines on singer-songwriter Arya Narang with a performance at the end of the show. So sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way because now we are officially open. Hey everyone, welcome to Open Hybrid. I'm Rena Valentin, your host of Café con Leche. For the next hour, coming to you back from Chari Executive Suite. Inviting you always to get social with us online. Tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Of course, while you're there, follow me on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Insta Stories, and LinkedIn at Rena Valentin. So our first guest is part of Fit Hit, a Krav Maga academy that delivers electric high energy cardio classes with a focus on real life self-defense skills. With the rise of sexual assault and violence against women, Fit Hit offers free women's self-defense seminars where beginners can learn sexual assault data, such as when and where to strike, escape dangerous positions, and more. Here now to explain further is Fit Hit Krav Maga instructor, nutrition specialist, and certified prenatal and postnatal fitness educator, Victoria Makarova.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great. Perfect.
All right, so we're going to move on. We're going to introduce her. Obviously, I already did, but I also want you guys to know that she's an MMA fighter, right? And for me, that's like a rare thing when it comes to women. But I noticed that it's also been expanding to women. So let's talk about how you became an MMA fighter first.
This was a journey for me for that started maybe 10 years ago. But I didn't start with me becoming an MMA fighter. It started with me just understanding that I'm a woman living alone in New York City. And if push comes to shove, what would I do in a very uncomfortable situation? And I have been in a few uncomfortable situations living alone, coming home at night. And I realized that if things happen, how would I react? What would I do? Would I freeze? Would I be able to defend myself if needed? And I started seeking out schools for self-defense for women. And it was kind of hard to find at that time. There was a lot of fitness, kickboxing studios, but which are great. I'm sure they're fantastic and get you in shape, but you don't really learn a skill as is. And I was a little intimidated going into big fancy MMA gyms because I didn't know anything and I was just a beginner. So I finally found Krav Maga Academy. I found it online on the Groupon. I gave it a try because why not? And the first class I took, I just got addicted. And I started coming and coming and coming. And it's funny, I should start by, I was a very uncoordinated person. So everything that I had to learn, it was very difficult for me. I didn't know how to throw a punch. I didn't know how to kick. I didn't know how to do anything. And I started it really late. I started at an age, we're not going to disclose my age, but late 20s.
That's so fascinating, because I just want to share with our audience how you became the first female to ever fight full contact MMA in Madison Square Garden for somebody who walked in uncoordinated. So you've come a long way.
Because you know what, it's and I wish it took me a little bit less time to understand that this is a need that every woman, experiences. But I was, I didn't know any better. I didn't know what I needed at that time.
Right.
Yeah, and even though it started with just self-defense and just, hey, I want to know how to protect myself if something bad happened to me, and understanding how much I don't know and understanding how uncoordinated I actually was.
Right.
But I love.
I like that you can laugh at that now, after you've already kicked butt all over the place.
No, which is really good, because I feel like I can relate to a lot of women who just step into the gym and they don't really know how to throw a punch or how to do anything. And everybody has a starting point.
Right.
And, for me, it was more about understanding what it does to my body and how much stronger I'm becoming. And hey, I'm actually learning things and that I can use in real life, not just, let's say, an arena.
Right. So can you break down what Krav Maga is? Even the language, I don't even know what that stands for.
Mm-hmm. So Krav Maga is an Israeli martial art. It originated in Israel. It was adopted by the idea of the army of Israel. And it is really useful because it doesn't take a lot of time to learn. It kind of relies on your basic instincts, on the strength that you already have. You don't need to be the strongest person in the room to actually do damage to a bad guy, to somebody who might be attacking you. So it's, and that's what they use to educate soldiers before they are drafted into war. Obviously, they didn't have years and years and years to develop this proficiency in this art. They only had a few months, and Krav Maga gave them the tools. And we'll call it street fighting because it doesn't really have any rules. It's not like a boxing match where you can grab a chair and smash somebody's face. Right. There's absolutely no rules in Krav Maga, which makes it efficient. So if, I'm not allowed to kick somebody in the groin in a boxing match, but on the street, that's what's going to get you out of a bad situation. So that's where it goes. So we did have I did join the Krav Maga Academy studio.
Right.
And I love what it was doing to me. And I love the messaging that it gave us. It's all about empowerment. It's, yes, you don't have to be the strongest, the fastest, the most equipped, or the most coordinated person. Clearly, I wasn't.
Right.
It gave you the tools and the comfortability with what you have in order for you to defend yourself if the need arises. And eventually, I felt in so much love and in so much appreciation for the school. I wanted to try my skills elsewhere. And clearly, there's no competition for Krav Maga because that would end very fast. Gouging eyes, smacking the groin, and that's it. So it's not something that you can practice in the arena.
In the groin, people. I don't know if you can hear that. So
that would be a very fast match.
This is obviously up close and personal training.
Yeah, right. You walk around the city.
Yeah.
You walk around the city hoping that you might use it, but you really hope you wouldn't have to use it for that many.
Right, exactly. So really quickly, because before we run out of time, I want to give our audience an idea of what they would experience within the seminar, right? And first of all, is it in person or is it virtual?
So the seminars we offer are in person. It's held in our studio on 26th Street, Midtown West of Manhattan. I would be happy to provide a link. You would come in and you would dedicate an hour, a little bit more than an hour and a half, up to 2 hours, to first being educated of what is really happening, because there's so much violence especially against women, happening in New York City today, and it gets worse and worse. And we look at statistics every week just to see what is happening, and the numbers are staggering. So you will educate, you will see what kind of attacks women are more susceptible to and what kind of attacks you might actually experience. And then we give you the tools on what to look out for, how to strike properly, what points to concentrate on. And we teach you an element of Krav Maga. So, for example, in the seminar, they will learn how to escape some kind of a position.
Right.
So whether it be, if somebody's choking you or grabbing you or whatnot. So they'll focus on that. So whoever's taking that class, you have a very basic knowledge of what to do if something bad was to happen.
Before we go, because we're running out of time, I wanted to know, is there an age range between individuals? Like, first of all, is it an all women's class, and is there like different ages, right? Do you do, I don't know, middle school, teenagers, women, elders, because it applies to everybody.
So the seminar specifically is geared towards women. So we do invite females to the seminar. Our classes are open to everybody. And the age range doesn't really matter.
But I think what you shared with us was really helpful. I'm sad that we weren't able to get into your motherhood and now incorporating the prenatal and postnatal fitness, but they can find out more about that on the website, right?
Absolutely, yes. We're always available for questions. We do have a website, fithit.com. So if anybody needs to reach out and just ask us questions, there's a lot of things that we offer: nutrition and fitness and self-defense, and there's a lot of aspects that we kind of hit on. So we're open for all.
Okay, you heard that right here on Open.
That's right.
That's Coach Victoria Makarova. Woo, I got it right. So Fit Hit Krav Maga instructor. She's a Fit Hit Krav Maga instructor, nutrition specialist, and certified prenatal and postnatal fitness educator. And if you're interested in Fit Hit women's self-defense seminars, you can visit fithit.com. All right, we got to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about the new photography exhibition coming to Enfocos South Bronx Art Tour. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back. So Enfocos South Bronx Art Tour is opening a new photography exhibition from award-winning photographers, and it's free and open to the public. We love that word, free. And so Enfoco and Warworks NY present Night Vision, a solo exhibit featuring a selection of black and white street images by Bronx-born and raised Puerto Rican award-winning photographer Marisol Diaz-Gordon. And Marisol is also the curator of Reveal, an exhibition that explores the art of this year's 10 Enfoco Fellows who demonstrate the highest quality of work. And she's going to tell us more, but let's welcome award-winning photographer and curator of Reveal at Enfoco, Marisol Diaz-Gordon. Hello, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
What I didn't share with our viewers is well, Marisol and I, we kind of sort of belong to the same tribe. We've been at this arts advocacy and arts contribution for, I want to say, how many years?
Oh, we know each other for like 20 years.
Lower number.
I know. I know. Time goes by quickly. And, you know, somehow this art community from 20 years ago, somehow we've managed to stay in touch with each other.
It's beautiful though. It's beautiful that we've been able to like dance into each other's spaces periodically throughout all these years. And also not only honing in our own craft, but contributing to the next generation, right? But before we even start speaking about the next generation, because I know how you do that, we're going to talk about Night Vision first, okay? Let's talk about this solo exhibition that is all you, Mama. Congratulations.
Thank you. You know, I want to thank Bill and Enfoco for that. It was a surprise on me that they tapped my shoulder for this. And that body of work actually was one of the bodies of works that won Brio in 2009. And yeah, wow. So it's coming back in a very different way because it's about 3 feet high and 20 something feet long, and it's going to be on fire escapes. So they're triptychs, and I can't take the credit for the triptychs. Back in 2008, I spoke to Juan Sanchez and I showed him my work and my portfolio of this series, Lower East Side, that I had exhibited at Clemente Soto Velez. So it's all intertwined, right? And he said, you know, have you considered doing diptychs and triptychs? So that's how these triptychs were born. So these images began to speak to each other in a very organic language. I have nothing to do with it. I just put them together. They tell me where to go, and there it lands. So that's going to be at the exhibition on June 11th.
All right, so let's just define triptychs to our audience so that they understand what they're going to experience, aside from the imagery themselves.
Sure. So triptychs are 3 images that may or may not have anything to do with each other, and then they're placed together. They can be touching each other, or they can have just a little bit break in between, but 3 images come together to become one unit.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? And then they're all in black and white. And I know you have you've made a statement about shooting black and white versus color. Yeah. Is black and white your preference?
You know, I considered myself a black and white documentary photographer, fine art photographer for many years. I fought color, one, because color seemed to be the norm. It's our norm, right? Most of us see in color, and black and white was kind of like this place when you can get rid of distractions. You just can kind of pull them aside and go in and just see these shades. I have made amends with my color photography, but I still have a love and a passion for black and white.
Well, how beautiful is that they're reviving your work from that one Abreu in 2009. Here we are in 2022, and you know, for lack of a better word, there's some relevance to it with the times that we're living in, and I'm really referring to the mood of it, right? And how New York almost felt like isolated, like it was just like a really dark, dim place, and I'm really referencing it, you know, metaphorically, and that kind of, your images kind of represent that, even though I know they weren't shot during the pandemic, but they have that feeling.
Yeah, so I went around Lower Manhattan to shoot these images, and then I found myself in Chinatown, and I found some beautiful streets, and the way the highlights would hit the bricks on the ground, the cobblestones, which is so fascinating to me. And I think also the loneliness that you see of the isolation is also part of the isolation that a photographer has, a freelancer has, walking around the streets, capturing events and news. So this was my time to just be quiet, be calm and still, and just start walking around and documenting and seeing beauties in the darkness with the highlights.
Well, congratulations on that solo exhibition, but we're going to talk a little bit, excuse me, about you and your relationship to Enfoco, because you've been involved with Enfoco for a while, and I definitely, you know, want to tap into this new cohort of photographer fellows who are going to be exhibited as well and curated by you, no less. So let's just talk about how you are in and out of Enfoco, and how, in essence, you never really left. But I know that you wear a lot of hats. I did mention that you're an adjunct lecturer as well, and you also paint. So you know, you're an artist, but photography seems to be like your mission, your purpose, and passing it on to the next generation. So let's talk about this new exhibition, Reveal.
So I've been connected to Enfoco since the late 90s. I started out as an intern, and that I would blame Professor Bruce Habiger at City College, who said, you know, once you leave here, you need some support. And there's this organization that was started by Puerto Rican photographers, and it branched out to all peoples of color. I think you should check them out. And I did an internship there, and then they kept me around as a program assistant, and eventually I was program director. So for 11 years, I helped to support artists of color in general in different kinds of activities, workshops, which is career development, exhibitions, all sorts of things that we can figure out that they needed support with. And we listened to the artists, right? But exhibiting their work was very important because they have a voice. And you're not an artist with a voice unless you show your work. You just can't shoot and have it hiding somewhere. Your voice needs to be heard. And this is what photographers do with their photographs. A lot of people don't grasp that idea that when you're looking at someone's work, you're looking at their soul.
Right.
You know, it's part of their soul. You might see other people in there, but it is their soul that's attached to it.
Yeah, that's really deep. And I get it. I get what you're saying, right? Because it's their perspective, their point of view, their mood in that moment, because that shifts the dynamics as well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So before we run out of time, let's talk about the 10 Enfoco Fellows that are going to be on display.
Oh, they're so different. They have so many different topics, but at the same time, it's all the same thing, right? In my curatorial statement, I talk about the isms, right? The sexism, this, the that.
Ageism.
I mean, it's so profound. Racism, and the idea of a person being able to be a person without the powers that be coming in and trying to change that individual, community, or country. Each of these artists touch upon that. They touch about the isms. They touch about the longing to be with family, but being separated, immigration, and the idea that no one really leaves their beloved country because they want to. It's because somehow they're forced to, they need to create a better life. Transgender topics come up, ageism comes up. It's so many varieties of things. And my hope is that when people come see the show, that they leave with a thought about the work. Doesn't have to change them, but can be a little food for thought to have an internal conversation later on and maybe challenge those ideas that they had before they came in to see the show, because that's what the artists do. They challenge ideas and they make people think about the status quo.
Yeah, no, it's true. And thank you for sharing that with our viewers, because I think it's important for us to not only support each other's work, it's important for us to expand on what we're used to experiencing, right? And so perhaps if you're just a person who likes to go to exhibits that are for fine art and or sculptures, perhaps, explore photography as its own form of art, even though it is, but people have their preferences, right? However, right now we're living in a day and age where the name of the game is to experience diversity on every level, not just in gender, not just in race, not in everything that we do, especially living here in New York.
Exactly. And if not now, then when, right?
Right.
Like when are we going to improve as human beings? When are we going to push the envelope of acceptance for all people, regardless of everything and anything, regardless of how you look, how you sound, what language you speak, where you came from? And this touches upon that. I mean, art is essential for so many reasons, but art can really improve your soul, not just you as a human being, not physically, not visually, but as a soul.
Yeah, not only that, it's like visiting a time capsule. I mean, I've always considered photojournalists, even photographers as a whole, are historians, because it's definitely like time just snapped and encapsulated. So thank you for your lifelong dedication to this art form, and not only for yourself, but for the next generation. And thanks for bringing it here. I know we didn't get to mention all the Enfoco Fellows, but really quickly, the photographers that are this year's Enfoco Fellows are Javier Alvarez, Daniel Arroz Aguilar, Dennis Redmoon, Darkeem, Carlos L. Esquerra, Paola Martinez Fitere, Diana Guerra, Carmen Lizado, Jahi Sabater, Cynthia Santos Briones, and Naisha Sylvester, and of course, the solo exhibition by yours truly, Marisol Diaz.
Thank you. Yes. They're also featured in Nueva Luz Photographic Journal that will be available in June.
Oh, right, the magazine as well. So, and that's going to be available in hard copy at the exhibition. So, yes. Guys, right, don't miss it, because Night Vision and Reveal, both exhibitions, are going to debut June 11th at 3 p.m. at the Bronx Create Club, which is located at 15 Canal Place in the Bronx. And if you're interested in more information, you can visit enfoco.org. All right, we got to take a quick break, but when we return, we're going to hear about the Bronx Pride Week LGBTQ+ film screening you don't want to miss. Hey everyone, welcome back. The Bronx Filmmakers Collective is a nonprofit community of filmmakers who live and work in the borough of the Bronx. As members of the Bronx community, they showcase a multitude of stories, both narrative and documentary, that makes our borough unique. As Pride Month continues, the Bronx Filmmakers Collective is hosting Our Gaze Bronx Pride Week 2022 LGBTQ+ film screenings. Here to share more is event organizer and Bronx Filmmakers member, Josephat Concepcion. Hello and welcome.
Hello, Rina. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that. We also appreciate the work that y'all are doing. So let's just start with the actual collective itself. With the Bronx Filmmakers Collective, like how many members does it consist of?
Well, you just got me on that one. We because we just grow a little recently.
But when did you start it? First, let's start with
well, that's important because this year we are celebrating the 10th anniversary. It's been 10 years already. Well, for an organization like us in the Bronx, is a big celebration. And, you know, this screening and other ones that we are organizing for this summer are part of this 10-year anniversary celebration.
Well, it is a celebration. Congratulations, especially having to figure out how to pivot, right, during the pandemic, and you've been able to sustain, and you're celebrating Pride Week. So I wanted to establish when the organization was founded. You're still calculating how many members it consists of. More or less, just give it
no, we are around 20 something long. There's some people that come in and out, and there's some members that just join us, so we are somewhere around there, and inviting people to come and join us and see how we work, because we are an organization that is open to all type of filmmakers and people that work in the film industry and arts. Not necessarily directors, that some people think that, but we have a space for anyone that the many multiple professions that are inside the film field, and that are related to the Bronx somehow. Maybe you're a Bronx resident, or maybe you were born in the Bronx and you don't forget your roots and take them with you and your art. So anyone that maybe watching that is interested, they are more than welcome to come join us for some sessions and see if it's a fit for them.
So the next question is you just mentioned it's open to everybody. Do the topics need to be geared towards LGBTQ+?
No, the organization, the things that we have in common inside the Bronx Filmmaker Collective are these two: film and Bronx. We are filmmakers that come from very different films. There are traditional narrative commercial filmmakers, experimental filmmakers, documentaries. We are many different type that have that in common, Bronx and film. But as diverse as is the Bronx, of course, we have many members in our collective that are also members of the LGBTQ+ community, and many other people that also, as allies, also produce films that somehow tell the stories of the queer individuals.
Right, and so, which leads us to our topic of discussion, which is Our Gaze, the film screening, which is Our Gaze Bronx Pride Week LGBTQ+ film screening. So how many films does it consist of? How many minutes? And so walk us through what this experience is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to showcase the work of five filmmakers, members of the Bronx Filmmaker Collective, Benedict Campbell, Hannah Leshaw, Alvaro Franco, and myself, Josephat Concepcion, with two short films of each one of us, very different genres, very different formats. We have films that were shot in Super 8 film and digital filmmaking, films that were, we have documentaries, we have drama, we have some romance, of course, and some even horror. But all of them touch somehow the queer experience. And most of them were shot in the Bronx. The ones that were not shot in Bronx were shot by individuals that are from or residents in the borough. And the show will be around.
No, you know what? I was just absorbing the fact that you said, oh, we're going to have romance and we're going to have horror, which I very rarely hear anybody, tell queer stories in a horror format. That's interesting.
Indeed. For many people in the queer community, horror is the genre that mostly represents this, because I feel like also for feminism is another movement that relays a lot with horror filmmaking, because at the end tells the story of those that are oppressed, and we can relate to that in all those classic movies. Heteropatriarchy could be the Freddy Krueger that is chasing you and you're that final girl. So we kind of relate to that a lot.
Talk about metaphors.
Exactly. That's what film is at the end.
I love that analogy. I get it. Wow, that was really profound too, what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. So all right, so this film screening is going to happen June 14th at what is this location? 448 East 149th Street.
Well, that's an amazing place that if you guys don't know it, you should stop by and check out the work. We're going to screen the movies at Destination Tomorrow. That is the LGBTQ Center of the Bronx. And they do an amazing job there. It's not only focused to the LGBTQ Center, but somehow center on it. And they do amazing work. From a food bank center to health issues, many things. And between all their activities, there's this beautiful collaboration. Well, not only with Destination Tomorrow, but also with Stonewall Village NYC, that is a really cool organization that work with elder LGBTQ individuals and issues related with housing, and they're gonna actually provide some una merienda. We're gonna have some food for all the people that join us to the movies, so there's gonna be something nice to have after, while we have a little conversation about that hopefully this movies will give us some really interesting topics there to discuss while we have something to eat and to drink.
That's lovely. And so what's your film about? Let's talk about your film.
Well, if you haven't guessed, the horror one is my film.
I kind of knew it because you broke it down. You already knew. I was like, oh, okay. All right.
Well, I have two short films showing there. One of them is called Bites, and is a play on it's an experimental film, a play on the classic vampires, retelling the story of the vampires with a big wink to my lesbian sisters, and also with a lot of reference to classic horror movies shot in New York. And then we will see The Holy Wound, that is a movie about witches, and there's a lot of blood and a lot of fun, and I think people will like it. I hope.
I know I like stories about witches and vampires.
I can't wait for you to see them.
Oh my God. Well, thank you for bringing it here to our viewers. Do you have any last words before we go?
Well, just say that everybody's invited to come this Tuesday, June 14, to the destination tomorrow in the South Bronx at 6:30. We're gonna have the movies. We're gonna have something to eat, Q&A with the filmmakers, and have a great time watching movies made in or by people of the Bronx that showcase and reflects the experience of the queer community.
Brava, brava, Josefa Concepcion, everyone, event organizer and Bronx Filmmakers Collective member, and of course, filmmaker of the horror films. So once again, you guys, thank you, Josefa Concepcion, event organizer, collective member, Our Gays, Bronx Pride Week, LGBTQ films. Screening is taking place at Destination tomorrow. By the way, the tickets are free. That's happening June 14th at 6:30 p.m. located at 448 East 149th Street on the 3rd floor in the Bronx. To get your free tickets, go to bronxfilmmakers.org. Stay tuned. Bobby C's Weekly Sports Roundup is coming up next.
The captain has arrived on social media. We begin with Derek Jeter's new presence on Twitter and Instagram. Jeets takes the top spot here on 5 on 5. The Yankees posted a welcome message to the 47-year-old Hall of Famer on their Twitter account. Jeter left his post as CEO and minority owner of the Miami Marlins in February after roughly 4.5 years with the club. His arrival on socials comes ahead of his new doc on his career called The Captain. The 7-part series will air on ESPN in July. Must-see TV. We'll stick with the Bombers here in the 4th spot. The Yankees extended the longest active winning streak in Major League Baseball to 6 games on Sunday, downing the Detroit Tigers 5-4 in extra innings. As has become the story, the Pinstripers received a strong start on the bump. This time it was from lefty Jordan Montgomery. He held the Tigers to 2 runs on 5 hits across 6 1/3 innings, striking out 5 batters in the process. Gumby threw 60 of his 90 pitches, 4 strikes. Precision there by Jordan Montgomery. The first-place Yankees entered the week with 15 comeback wins and 6 walk-off victories, including Sunday. Both stats are the most in baseball. Impressive by the Bronx Bombers. In at number 3, the Amazons have been equally impressive and come from behind form in the National League, somewhat Yankee-like, at least last weekend, and against steep competition too. The Mets overcame a 4-1 deficit last Saturday and then a 2-0 hole on Sunday against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Pretty much an open casting call for contributors for the Mets, but I will say this, like Aaron Judge carrying the Yankees of late, he was named Player of the Month in the American League. Pete Alonso has been that star for the Mets. He's on pace for 47 dingers and 156 RBI. For the team with the best record in the National League. Subway Series, here we come. On the ice, the Rangers open the conference finals with back-to-back wins before dropping Game 3 in Tampa Bay. Looks like a real series now between the Broadway Blue Shirts and the Lightning. The Rangers coming in here at number 2.
They were the better team. We come in here, we knew it was going to be a battle. I was pretty happy after 2 periods. It was 2-2. You give yourself a chance to win, and that's what we done. And we didn't do a great job of that before in some road games, but I thought we stayed with it. We had an opportunity, and unfortunately they get the late goal to win the hockey game, but we got outplayed, but we had a chance to win late.
Yeah, anytime the home team gets a win, they're going to have a little pushback. We kind of expected that going into yesterday's game. So, I think it's just about managing that, sticking to what we know and what's gotten us here all year. It's just our details, and like I said, we knew they were going to push back, so I think it's just about managing that and coming back tomorrow, matching that intensity.
And in at number 1, our race recap from the weekend, starting with IndyCar in Detroit. Will Power was a 2-time IndyCar champion on Belle Isle. But something was still missing from his resume, a splash in the James Scott Memorial Fountain to celebrate. His wins came in 2014 and 2017, just before 2018 winner Ryan Hunter-Reay established the tradition. Power surged through the final race on Belle Isle to win the 2022 Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix last Sunday. Afterward, he and most of his Team Penske crew finally felt the icy waters, the last before the race returns downtown in 2023. Here's more with Will Power.
We have been really strong at pretty much everywhere except Indy this year. So, I think the team is. I think the engine's really good. I think the team is good. It has been. I think everything's just flowing nicely for us now. And we want to be competitive for the rest of the year. We want to be in the championship hunt. So that's the goal.
In NASCAR, the Cup Series visited Worldwide Technology Raceway, more commonly referred to as Gateway, for the first time. The venue waited nearly a quarter century for its first Cup Series race. No surprise, it sold out. The closing laps were centered around a three-way battle for the win between Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, and his teammate Ryan Blaney. Logano clung to Busch's rear bumper, trying to get alongside the leader. Then, a brake failure sent Kevin Harvick's Mustang into the outside wall in turn 3, sending the dramatic race into overtime. Busch and Logano were door-to-door down the backstretch. Busch couldn't keep his car low enough, opening the door for Logano to drive the last lap safely to victory lane. Here's Logano on the race win.
All of us unloaded with pretty good speed in the cars, and for whatever reason, we hit it. For not having much data and how to set up the car for this racetrack, it was pretty close. And so there's that, but I think there's also the how quick you got to adapt at these racetracks when you go there for the first time, as far as how you call the race, how you restart, how you pass cars, those things. We don't know what those are going to be until the race starts. What lines we're going to run. I was surprised to see how high we got in both ends. It's a line, and that kind of changes the way your car drives. And so I think in general, just you got to be open-minded and do things quickly, learn quickly.
That leads us to our Bronx Athlete of the Week, and that honor goes to the newly minted Indy 500 champion Marcus Ericsson. Champions are made in the Bronx. Champions from elsewhere come to the Bronx. Last Tuesday, just 2 days after winning the greatest spectacle in racing, the Swede took the Big Apple by storm. That included throwing out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium. Yanks won that night, by the way. Check his Yankee jersey with his number on the back. Pretty cool. He also rang the bell at the NASDAQ on the New York Stock Exchange to kickstart the day. The 31-year-old also visited the top of the Empire State Building for a photo shoot. To boot, his day in New York included a slew of interviews. Congratulations to Marcus Ericsson. To the back end for our look ahead, in at number 1, the Yanks start a new homestand in the Bronx this weekend, welcoming the Chicago Cubs to the BX. At 2, it's the Amazons' turn to face the LA Angels. The Mets continue out west, wrapping up their swing with 3 games against the Halos. At 3, Game 4 of the NBA Finals is tonight as Golden State and Boston continue their slugfest. Coming in at 4, the Stanley Cup Final is about a week away after conclusion of the 2 conference finals. Colorado's certainly looking dominant out west. And at 5, in the world of open-wheel racing, IndyCar is back in action at Road America in Wisconsin this weekend, while Formula One takes center stage in Baku on Sunday. Not to be outdone in motorsports, the world's most dangerous motorcycle road race, the Isle of Man TT, concludes today. They had 2 deaths in 4 days, unfortunately, last week, still the most dangerous of them all. We hit the C-list for an On This Date in Bronx sports history so good, it's twice as nice. That's right, On This Date with 2 notable Yankee notes, including one that this BronxNet reporter witnessed live. We'll start with the one from before my time. Babe Ruth set a record that stood for more than half a century. Ruth became the all-time home run king on this day in 1921 with his 120th round tripper, breaking Roger Connor's then record. Of course, He added 594 more home runs en route to 714 for his career. Babe's mark stood until Hank Aaron hit his record-breaking 715th home run in 1974. Flash forward to 2002, Marcus Thames kicked off his playing career in style on this day that year. He took Hall of Famer Randy Johnson deep on the first pitch he ever saw in the major leagues. It was a bit of payback for the Yanks. The club had just lost the World Series to Johnson and the Diamondbacks the previous fall after 9/11. Thames was traded the next season for Ruben Sierra, but returned to the Yankees in 2010. He was most recently a hitting coach for the team. No Yankee had homered on his first ever pitch before Thames, but 3 have since. Andy Phillips in 2004 and Tyler Austin and Aaron Judge, who did it back-to-back in 2016. Our BronxNet cameras were there for that memorable pair by Judge and Austin, too. The homer from Marcus is a great memory for me as well. Let's keep making more memories right here in the Bronx. That's your look at sports. I'm Bobby C.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Open. Our last guest is a New York City singer-songwriter who's always been connected to music, picking up her violin at age 4 and then the guitar at 12, with her interest of inclusivity and storytelling, connecting with others being the most important thing to her. And for that reason, she uses her platform as a singer to give a voice to others, to let them know that they are not alone. And here to share more is singer-songwriter Arya Narang. And Arya,
hello, how are you?
Hello. And where might I ask, are you joining us from?
I am in my Barnard dorm room on 116th Broadway. You can probably tell from the lighting and the noise. But yes, it feels like home.
Well, you can kind of tell that it's a dorm room, and it's just interesting what we shared before we got on air with regards to your journey in creating your recent album, Confessions, right? I don't even know if that's the proper term, right? Because you're a different generation. Albums, it's not albums. What is it like? What's the reference? The correct reference?
No, you're right. I called it an album, Confessions.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, you did good.
Oh my God. If my daughter was here, she'd be like, Mom, that's not the way we reference it, right? Because everything is streamed. So I'm like, oh, wait, is that a physical thing? Anywho, going back to Confessions, right? So the Confessions, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, you actually recorded this whole album in that dorm?
Not this one, but yes, in a dorm room. A dorm room actually half the size of this one.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, I recorded Confession in the corner of my dorm room, and my friends would come over and be like, oh, that's the setup, that's where you're doing everything. But you know what? You can't tell. I think you can't tell when you listen to Confession that I did it in the dorm room. I have a small little sound barrier thing to keep it alive, and
let's talk about the process, because I'm going to assume this was done over the pandemic, and now everything's opening, and I know you're performing live in person, but let's just talk about that journey up until now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been wanting to release these songs for so long, and then of course when I get the resources and the ability to do it, the pandemic hits, and it's like I can't fly over to Austin and work with the people I want to. And so we kind of, we had this arrangement. I worked with Brian Ray. He lives in Austin, Texas, and we FaceTime, and a lot of the time he just sends me a link so I can listen to what he's doing. But it's not the same, right? Like I'll take a vocal take and I'll send it to him, and then I'll hear back the next couple of days that, oh, you know what, you need to redo this. So it's not like I can be there in the room with him. But I do think that it's interesting that it happened during the pandemic, but I wouldn't have had it any other way, because it really taught me to grow on my own and listen to myself, because I'm alone. And it also, it's hope for everyone that anything is possible. Whenever you want to do something, whether or not the whole world is falling apart, you could do it.
Yeah, no, and thank you for those words, but something that you just mentioned stood out for me in how it helped you grow in being by yourself, because now you were basically reliant on your ear before, right? Versus having somebody to prove it before.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Before you actually, right. So would you say that it enhanced your abilities as a producer?
Yes, and that's so interesting that you said that, because I've never had any training there. But a lot of the times I'll catch myself, you know, hearing an instrument or something and just quickly sending a text over to my producer asking, you know, how could I put this in? And now I've kind of got this really good understanding of how all these instruments come together. And actually it's very interesting now because I used Logic Pro, which is a lot of what people use for technology, but I didn't have a whole studio. But now I kind of know some tips and tricks on Logic, and I know how to add some instruments and do things like that. So it's very cool because I never knew how to do any of that before I started this journey.
Yeah, so you became an engineer in the process.
Yeah,
but,
a little bit.
Yeah, but you know, and I'm saying that only to say that the pandemic has obviously impacted all of us in somewhat. I mean, it's not somewhat, in a traumatic way, right?
Yes.
But then there's this other side to it, which is the side that we're discussing right now, where we were kind of placed in positions, all of us, right, in our respective areas, to kind of like learn or expand on whatever it is that we were already in, right? Or maybe even other aspects of it, just to get it done.
Yes.
And because time was there, and because the time was there, is the reason why you were able to develop these skills.
Exactly. And I hate to put COVID in a good light, but there are some benefits there, because I talk to so many people and they're like, oh, I picked up guitar over the pandemic, or I picked up knitting. And it's like, it's really nice to see, because you're never actually forced to spend that time alone with yourself, and you'd be surprised how much you'd grow in that time.
Yeah, and you know, and it's not even necessarily putting it in a light. It's more of like choosing how it is that we're going to walk away from it, right? Because we're already being fed all this negative information, and we're already like constantly, it's like constantly being shoved down our throats in some form. And you know, now the mental health crisis is in full force. And so I think it's important that we do share these stories of like, well, you know, I got this out of it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It is very important to look at it that way. I totally agree.
So, so I know you're going to be performing one of the songs from Confessions for us, but altogether, how many songs does the album consist of?
7. 7 songs. It's a smaller album. I didn't want to put too much out there. I also, you know, kind of had limited time over here, so, but I put my best foot forward. I really put songs that mean a lot to me out there, and it really does tell a story. I always make sure that people, the first time they listen to an album, they listen to it top to finish, because there really is an order to it. It really kind of tells my story.
Right, from beginning to end, not just the song itself. And I dig your flavor too. I dig your flavor, and you guys are going to dig it too. But before we take the break and for Aria to play for us, just give us a little insight with regards to the song that we're going to hear, Shackled.
Yes, and actually this is great because Shackled is a song I wrote in the very beginning of the pandemic. And you know, it says it in the name. I just felt shackled down, and a lot of the lines are about kind of going insane. But I remember kind of writing this song, and it just felt like a release of everything that I was feeling. So I really think all of you will relate to it, and I hope you enjoy Shackled and stream Confession.
Awesome. All right, everybody, once again, that's singer-songwriter Aria Narang. And don't go anywhere, because when we return, she's going to perform Shackled for us.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Here now to perform Shackled. Let's give it up for Aria Narang.
Now I spend my days going insane, follow my tears, follow the rain. You whisper in my ear, it'll be okay. My brain disagrees, give her some space. wilderness, come and find me. I need someone here, but the light is blinding. Go. Oh. Shackled to the earth, I really need your love to bring me peace so I can be home again. Drowning in the sea, come here and drown me off. It's been so long that I've been cold for days, for months, for years. I really need your love. I really need your love. I really need your love. Have you ever been to an abandoned parking lot? Used to be filled with people and now it's not. Well, that's what it feels like to be trapped in my body. I've got the tracks and the rhythm, but not the melody. Alone in the wilderness, come and find me. I need someone here, but the light is blinding. Go. Oh, shackled to the earth, I really need your love to bring me peace so I can be home again. Drowning in the sea, come here and drown me off. It's been so long that I've been cold for days, for months, for years, for love. I'd do anything for trust, for you, for us. I'd take off on my own dignity and such, but it would take a lot for me to leave. Shackled to the earth, I really need your love to bring me peace so I can be home again. Drowning in the sea, come here and drown me off. It's been so long that I've been cold for days, for months, for years. I really need your love. I really need your love. I really need your love.
That was Arya Narang, and her debut album, Confessions, is out on all streaming platforms. For more information, check out Arya on Instagram at Arya Sings Tunes. That is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through, and to you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the Recablecast tonight and 24 hours a day at BronxNet.tv. I'm Rena Valentin, and from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity, y amor. Happy Pride, and enjoy this year's National Puerto Rican Day Parade in person. Mi gente, que viva Puerto Rico.